Sasa tuangazie yale ambayo yanasemwa na wachapishaji vitabu nchini ambao hivi sasa wanaandaa kikao na wanahabari kuzungumzia utata unaogubika mtaala mpya baada ya kuripotiwa kuwa vitabu vya kiwango cha 4 bado havijachapishwa. Hebu tusikize.
And commissions an author. These authors are teachers in our own schools. So the first point of quality control is that the books are written by practicing teachers. Thereafter, we review the books in-house. Once the book is written, it is brought into the publishing house. Remember, even the writing was under the control of the publisher because we tried to see how well the curriculum has been interpreted, how well the topics have been illustrated, and how palatable that information is to the intended user, who in this case is a school child. So the books comes back to the publishing house, where again we give it to a second tier of teachers, what we call a focus group, who again look at the content developed by the first author, appropriateness, accuracy, is it addressing the curriculum as intended? This is normally a group of 3 to 4 teachers selected from a different school from the previous teacher. So that's the second point of quality control in terms of content. After which the book is again brought back to the publishing house with the comments of the panel, and we invite the author back again to the publishing house to address those concerns before now the third and probably the most important and critical part in the book production comes in, the editorial process. This is where we have our in-house editors. These are employees of the publishing houses, subject specialists. If it is English, for example, it will be an English editor. If it is Kiswahili, it will be a Kiswahili editor, and so on. The role of these ladies and gentlemen is to ensure the editorial process, the design, the layout, the actual editing, to ensure the comma, the full stop is in the right place. Looking at the language appropriateness, to remove double meanings, to remove any kind of misinterpretation. That is the work of the editor. I know you have editors in your publishing houses. That is the work of the editor. After the editor goes through this process, again the book is given back to the original author. Remember, now it is almost looking like a book. Illustrations have been put in place. Editorial processes have been put in place. A lot of times, some houses have 1 step, others have 2 steps, others even have as much as 3 steps editorial processes. Others even outsource an independent editor just to have a look at what the previous editors have done. So it's a stringent measure, because once the book goes out there, it's published, it is next to impossible to recall it or correct it. Once that is done, an in-house panel in the publishing house comprising of the managers, marketing managers, finance managers, publishing managers, production managers, warehouse managers, relook at the book now from all the different perspectives of their fields, marketing, finance, distribution, all that. And they satisfy themselves that now, yes, this book is what we need for the market. The book is therefore given to a printer. The printer's job is not to think whether the content is correct or whether the content is too much. The printer's job is simply to do that, printing. They will print whatever quantities the publisher requires, and the publisher pays for them, and the book is brought back to the publishing house. Now, there's a very important stage that once the book is done, before it goes for press, that I need to clarify. I left it for the last. This is the government involvement. Books are vetted and approved by law, by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KICD. After we have done our vigorous editorial processes, KICD, we supply KICD what we call sample copies for them to verify, vet, approve or disapprove any material that will go to the schools. Now KICD, I'll not talk for them, but we have an agreed process whereby they get panels, again from different practicing teachers who are taken through the document, that the tool, they have a very aggressive tool that checks many things, from length of the books, from the coverage of the topic, from the language use, from editorial processes, are the commas there, are the full stops there? And this process sometimes takes even more than a month. Remember, when we submit our titles, it is a completely unbiased submission. KICD requires us not to submit titles that have marks that identify the publisher or the author. So they are blank dummies that are given to the institute. They vet without knowing from whom the material comes from. Once they do that, they give us back the reports, and they give what we call conditional approval. No book is given outright approval. I would like to clarify that, because as the policeman in this case, the KICD, they'll always find something that requires to be improved. Remember, they are the custodians of the curriculum. So there's a way they want the curriculum approached. They'll vet the books and pick the very best of the 6 vetted books. Remember, in one category, say English, class 1, you might have even over 100 books submitted, but only 6 will be approved conditionally. KICD goes further to give us a report that tells us, chapter 8, page 2, there are these following corrections you need to correct before we can give you what we call outright approval. Again, they give us those reports. They are normally very big reports. We make the corrections and submit the copies back to KICD for rechecking and re-examination. A lot of times they are brought back to us again with a second report that you got this right, you need to further improve this. So a lot of times it goes second time. And then they tell you now, finally, your book is approved, it's ready for press. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the process, the quality control processes that you see a textbook there goes through. Now, having said that, I would like to address now the reported errors that have been circulating the media, both the social media and our own online media. It is a fact that the publishers intend to publish books that have no errors. And we will be the last people to defend a book that goes out with errors. The processes I have just mentioned before almost guarantee 100% error-proof books. Now, what is an error and what is considered an error? Let me address myself specifically to 4 books which were widely circulated in the media. One is a book that was talking about a helicopter and an MP landing and doing many things. I would like to say this about that particular book. First, there's nothing factually wrong with that passage.